It starts with a scream buried under layers of radio static. An emergency transmission NASA wasn't supposed to hear. The voice is shaky, breathless, drowning in alarms. "This is Expedition 09. We are under attack. Repeat, unknown lifeforms on board." The message cuts off abruptly, leaving only the hollow hum of deep space. In a single moment, everything humanity believed about first contact shatters. No flashing lights. No peaceful exchange of knowledge. Just fear, chaos, and something scraping against the metal skin of a ship, millions of miles from home. The camera dives into the darkness where the signal originated, leaving viewers with one chilling question. What exactly climbed aboard that NASA vessel? The story begins long before the attack, with a mission meant to rewrite history. Expedition 09 was NASA's most advanced deep space research project. Launched to investigate a strange metallic object drifting beyond the asteroid belt. The crew, four of NASA's best, expected to analyze data, collect samples, and return as heroes. Everything about the object fascinated them. It emitted no heat, no motion, no identifiable signature, yet a faint rhythmic pulse echoed from within it, almost like a heartbeat. In the final calm hours before the disaster, the crew joked, logged notes, and prepared instruments, unaware that the anomaly wasn't just being studied, it was watching back. As their ship drifted closer to the object, long-range scanners captured a faint, glitch-like shadow moving beside them. They dismissed it as sensor interference. But deep in that silence, something had already chosen its target. The first sign that something was wrong came as a subtle vibration under the crew's bootlight, steady, almost rhythmic, like the tapping of fingers on a metal table. At first, the crew thought it was a minor systems fluctuation, the kind that happens in deep space when temperature shifts strain the hull. But then the lights dimmed, flickered, and surged with a strange blue tint none of them had seen before. Moments later, a sudden spike in energy erupted from the mysterious object they were approaching, hitting their sensors so hard that alarms screamed through the ship. The engineers struggled to interpret the readings, none of the data matched any known natural phenomenon. Then came the sound. A slow, deliberate scraping against the outer hull, like something sharp, testing the metal. The pilot rotated the ship, hoping to shake off whatever was making contact. But the shadow on the external cameras clung tighter, its form impossible to resolve. NASA Mission Control received jumbled fragments of the crew's voices, terrified and distorted by interference. The biologist made the first chilling observation. The scraping wasn't random. It followed the ship's seams, almost as if the thing outside was searching for a point of entry. Moments later, the emergency airlock alarm blared. A foreign mass had attached itself to the outer doors, applying pressure far beyond any Earth-based creature. The breach was small at first, just a hiss of escaping air, but it grew with alarming speed. Inside the narrow corridor, a thin, jagged silhouette appeared under strobing emergency lights, moving in rapid, fluid motions that defied human anatomy. The crew initiated lockdown protocols, but before the doors sealed, the creature slipped through silent, predatory, and impossibly fast. Panic erupted across the control deck. The mission they had trained for their entire lives had transformed into a desperate struggle for survival within seconds. The creature moved through the ship with uncanny intelligence, never lingering long enough for anyone to get a clear look. Every time the lights flickered, it was gone, appearing somewhere new, deeper inside the vessel. The crew attempted containment procedures designed for biological hazards, sealing compartments and activating isolation shutters. But this was no ordinary organism. It seemed to anticipate their decisions, adapt to their tactics, and use the ship's architecture against them. When the engineer tried to reroute power to the internal defense system, the creature emitted a high-frequency pulse that overloaded circuits and plunged the ship into partial darkness. The crew's balance wavered, their vision blurred, and their hearing filled with static. It wasn't just attacking physically, it was destabilizing their senses. The biologist, hiding inside the medbay, examined a fragment the creature had shed, biological tissue fused with metallic filaments, pulsing faintly like a living engine. It was neither fully alive nor fully mechanical, something engineered for infiltration. Meanwhile, oxygen levels began to drop. Hull damage had triggered slow leaks across multiple sections, forcing the crew to operate in emergency mode. The pilot attempted manual thruster control to reposition the ship away from the anomaly, but every command was countered by system malfunctions spreading faster than should be possible. It was as if the creature was merging with the ship itself. Footsteps echoed in distant hallways, heavy and wet, followed by sharp impacts, as though the alien was testing the strength of bulkheads. The commander armed himself with emergency tools, knowing they stood little chance against something so advanced. But the real terror came when the creature finally revealed a tactic the crew hadn't expected. It began mimicking their voices. From the shadows, distorted versions of the crew's calls for help echoed through the vents, luring members into ambush zones. Communication became a deadly gamble. The crew wasn't just fighting for survival, they were trapped inside a labyrinth, controlled by a predator that understood them better with every passing minute. By the final hours of the mission, the ship had become a graveyard of dim corridors, flickering monitors, and automated warnings repeating on loop. The crew, exhausted and dwindling, gathered for one last attempt to activate the escape pods, but the creature had already anticipated that step. The main passage leading to the launch bay was sealed by emergency bulkheads the crew never triggered. Manual override required 2 people, one at each end of the corridor. It was a risk they had no choice but to take. As the commander and engineer positioned themselves, the alien attacked without warning, dropping from the ceiling like a shadow unhooking itself from darkness. It struck the engineer first, dragging him into the vents before he could scream. The commander had no time to grieve. He slammed the override panel, forcing the passage open long enough for the remaining 2 crew members to sprint toward the escape bay. But reaching the pods didn't solve their nightmare. Only one was functional. The biologist, trembling and wounded, insisted they draw straws, but before they could decide, the creature reappeared, blocking the entrance with a body that had changed shape, adapting to the ship's mechanical systems. Electricity danced across its limbs, as though it had absorbed the vessel's energy. The creature lunged. The commander shoved the biologist into the pod and launched it manually, taking a deep slash across his visor as he did. The pod ejected into the void, carrying the only surviving witness of Expedition 09. The commander stayed behind, sealing himself in the command deck long enough to broadcast one final message to Earth. His voice was shaky but resolute. If this species reaches you, humanity is not prepared. The last transmission included 6 seconds of eerie footage. The alien turning away from the commander and staring directly into the external camera, its many layered eyes reflecting Earth's direction. Then the screen cut to black. NASA received the damaged recording 12 minutes later. The ship itself was never found. In the aftermath of Expedition 09's disappearance, NASA quietly sealed every file connected to the mission, releasing only a short, heavily edited statement to the public. They blamed critical system failure, but behind closed doors, experts analyzed the final transmission frame by frame, searching for answers in the distorted images and fragments of the commander's last words. The footage, the creature's reflective, multi-layered eyes locking onto the camera, sparked theories that shook every department involved. This wasn't a random encounter. It wasn't an accident. It felt deliberate, almost strategic, as if the alien had allowed that final message to be recorded. As if it wanted Earth to know it existed. The surviving biologist was placed under strict medical and psychological observation. She spoke of the creature's intelligence, the moments it mimicked their voices, the way it blended with the ship's systems like a parasite evolving in real time. Her accounts only deepened the mystery. If this species could merge with technology, adapt instantly, and outthink trained astronauts, then humanity had discovered not just alien life but a predator built for infiltration on a scale far beyond anything imaginable. Some scientists proposed it was mechanical. Others believed it was biological. A few whispered the most terrifying possibility. It was both, engineered by something even more advanced. Earth's defenses were quietly upgraded over the following months. Orbital satellites were recalibrated, black-budget projects expanded, and monitoring stations tuned to the same strange frequency found in the final transmission. For a while, everything remained silent. No signals, no strange energy readings, no signs of the creature. But silence in deep space is never reassuring. It is a void waiting to be filled. Then, nearly a year after Expedition 09 vanished, a faint pulse echoed across the sensors of a Mars-orbiting probe, the same rhythmic signature the crew detected before the attack. It grew louder, clearer, more defined, like a knock on a door humanity hoped would remain shut. The video ends with one final thought. First contact has already happened. We weren't ready then, and we might not be ready now. But the universe doesn't wait for us to feel safe. Somewhere out there, something is moving again, watching, searching, following the trail that leads straight back to Earth.